Okay, I'm going to try to put together a little video to show people how I got this baby Dumeril's boa to start eating. I acquired this boa from somebody who had it for about 2.5 months, and he was only successful in getting it to eat twice. And by the time I had acquired it, it had been 6 weeks or so since it had eaten. Anyways, I acquired it for $40 with a bag of frozen rat pups, so it was definitely a gamble, and he sold it to me as such. But the snake actually was in pretty good condition, other than just being a little bit light and skinny for its what you'd expect. The guy had it set up pretty reasonably. I don't think he was irresponsible with it. He had it basically set up how I'd set up a ball python. He had it in a 32-quart clear tub with a water bowl, 2 hides, paper towels, and then he had a heat mat and a thermostat. So that's kind of how I have it set up right now. I actually made a separate video on how I set up the quarantine on this steak, and I encourage you to go and look at that because I did 2 big things differently than he did. The first was this tub is opaque sided and translucent topped, and it's much smaller than the tub he had, so I think that those things promoted the security feeling. And the other thing is I used aspen substrate so that the snake had something to burrow in, because I was pretty much working on the premise that the snake was otherwise healthy and that it was something to do with its stress and not feeling comfortable, which has proven out to me because I think this will be the 5th time I've fed it in a little over a month at this point. So let me show you how I got it started feeding. And the guy that I got it from had tried a bunch of different things, and the only thing that he's successfully gotten it to eat were frozen rat pinks, or pups. I don't know what exactly you call them. But anyway, so that's what I'm actually got it to feed on, no problems here. And I actually started feeding it the same ones he had, so it was not an issue with the frozen pups. But this is all I did to get it started. Is I defrost my frozen rodents like this. I put them into a little container in the fridge overnight, and I store them in a Ziploc bag. So that way when I go to heat them in the morning when I want to feed them, is all I have to do is hang the lip over like this, close the container like this with some warm water in there, and leave it set for 10 minutes or so. By warm water, I mean like it should feel just mildly warm to the touch. If it's hot enough for you to take a shower, it's hot enough to start cooking the rodents, so not that warm. But the 2 things that I did differently than he did is the first one. As you can see, this is actually, in the Ziploc bag, there's some pine shavings in here, and it's because I actually keep chickens for eggs. And what I did is I took some of the pine shavings out of their nest box and I put that in with the rat, working on the premise that sometimes Dumeril's boas are more apt to be bird eaters, and so that's why I did that. And then the other thing I did is I brained the rat. So that's where you just take the knife and or a little pin, and you poke it right through the center of the skull. And when you squeeze it out, you should get some fluid. It won't be blood. It'll be more clear, and that's cerebral spinal fluid, and that helps us promote the scent. So that's what I did to initially get this thing jump-started. At this point, he will take a frozen rat pup, no problems with nothing else. But I just backtracked a little bit to show you. So warning for the squeamish, I'm going to show you how I brained this rat, and then I'm going to open up this tank. And what you're probably going to see, actually this boa's got kind of a pretty aggressive feeding response. You'll probably see it progress towards me as soon as I open it. He's not aggressive, he's just always hopeful at this point that there's a rodent. So I'm going to brain this rat for you. Warning, it's gross if you were a little squeamish. And then beyond that, we're going to hopefully get this thing to feed for you. So here's the frozen rat pup. This was commercially produced and euthanized under humane standards. And here we go, it's gross, but this knife actually works well because it's got the right point, just like that. And when you do that, you should see there's a little bit of CSF coming out. It'll look kind of milky or cloudy, but it's not blood. And that just allows you to promote smell, like so. Okay. Now that I have CSF all over my finger, I'm going to try not to get one when I open this. Here we go. See where he is in there? is. Alright. I don't know which side's the tail. Can't really see. Oh, there's the head. See if I can get her to eat for you. That's really all I've done to get her started. Now, if you don't keep chickens, scenting the rat with chicken shavings is probably going to be tricky for you. You can try to get a frozen quail or a frozen chick and do the same thing. But I'd also tell you that I don't think that scenting with the chicken was the real key to getting this boa started. I think the key was making it feel secure. So I'd go ahead and forego the scenting with the bird, at least initially. And one thing you have to be concerned about when you're feeding on a mulch type substrate is that they ingest it. And right here you can see there's a little piece of aspen hanging out. Smell. Just take it out like that. Just so it doesn't ingest it. But as you can see, this snake just gulping down the last little bit of its rat. And it did so with me standing over it with the lights on so that it could be filmed. So I would not call this a problem feeder anymore. If this technique doesn't work for you, you could go on to trying different types of prey items, such as quail or live rat pups. I'd be reluctant to feed anything that was old enough to be able to bite your snake. But there are other things to try, but I think that you'd probably be successful doing just what I did, so long as the baseline is that you have a healthy snake.